Okay, folks, Rich Van Tassel back with you, continuing on with our game picks for Week 11 of the NFL season. And of course, as always, we are recording audio for Get Live Radio. The Los Angeles Rams, 7-2, very impressive 4-0 on the road. Travel to Minnesota to play the Vikings, who are 7-2, 4-1 at home. Should be a very good game against what is a good Los Angeles Rams offense and a very stout Minnesota Vikings defense. Injuries for the visiting Rams: Derek Carrier, tight end; Troy Hill, cornerback, questionable. For the Minnesota Vikings, Dalvin Cook, of course, is an injury reserve out. Mike Remmers, offensive tackle; Andrew Sendejo, a very underrated safety, are also out. Everson Griffin, defensive end; Brian Robinson, defensive end, questionable. So I immediately look at those injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Sendejo being out. You have two very good pass rushers at the defensive end position in Everson Griffin and Brian Robinson being questionable. The Rams' offense has been very good this year. I really like the addition of Andrew Whitworth on the offensive line. Of course, Todd Gurley is taking off this year. He's having a very good season. Over 750 yards and 7 touchdowns through 9 games. He's being the top quality running back that was expected when he came into the league. Of course, he was nursing an injury when he came in, but he's really come along. Case Keenum, who was the Rams quarterback last year, is playing very well for the Minnesota Vikings, and he was very poor for the Los Angeles Rams last season. It should show how much Sean McVay has made a difference with the Los Angeles Rams. Traveling in this game, young team, Minnesota playing very well. There have been times I thought the Rams would have a letdown, and they have not. I am expecting it again in this game, however. I see them going on the road, playing a tough defense in the Minnesota Vikings, who of course do have some injury question marks, but they still are a top quality team. They're good on all 3 levels. At secondary, at the linebacking position, you have guys in the secondary like Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes. At the linebacker position, of course, you have Anthony Barr, who's spectacular as well. And then on the defensive line, even with the questionable injuries, Everson Griffin, Brian Robinson, very underrated. I see Minnesota being able to limit the Los Angeles offense enough and coming away with the victory in this game. I like 24-14. I think the Rams offense is really going to struggle. The Washington Redskins, 4-5, 2-2 on the road, travel to New Orleans to play the Saints, who are 7-2, 3-1 at home. And of course, the Saints have won 7 straight games. Injuries for the visiting Redskins: Terrell Pryor, senior wide receiver, is out. The rest are questionable. Anthony Lanier, the second defensive end; Monte Nicholson, safety; Sean Laveau, guard; and Brandon Scherf, guard. So those offensive line injuries that Washington has been struggling with, they're up to questionable now, but they're starting to get a lot healthier. For the New Orleans Saints, Daniel Lasco, running back, is an injury reserve, out. Kenny Vaccaro, safety; A.J. Klein, linebacker, are questionable. As good as Drew Brees is playing this season, just shy of 2,400 yards, less than 85 incompletions, or 85 incompletions exactly on 300 passes, 13 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. It's been the New Orleans Saints defense that has really come along. So you see some questionable injuries. Let's see if any of them are not able to go. Kirk Cousins, just over 100 incompletions on 313 passes, a little south of 2,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. A lot's been expected of Kirk Cousins. Really, the difference in the offense is you look at the running game. Chris Thompson is the top rusher for the Washington Redskins. He is over 4 yards per carry, but only 277 yards, as opposed to Mark Ingram, who's running the ball very well for the Saints, 144 carries, 672 yards, 7 touchdowns, and of course Alvin Kamara coming along. I felt the Saints would have lost and their streak would have ended. I picked them to lose the last 2 times. You have a tricky Washington Redskins team. They play well in big games like this, games that you're not expecting them to have much chance, as evident in the Seattle Seahawks game they played a couple weeks ago. They were able to get the win in this one. I expect them to be game as always, but I'm not going to go against the Saints again. I think their offense is going to be too much, and Washington is not going to be able to keep pace on what is an improved New Orleans defense. Washington's defense is very much underrated themselves, but I like a score of 31-24, the New Orleans Saints over the Washington Redskins. The Kansas City Chiefs, 6-3, 3-2 on the road, travel to New York to play the Giants, who are 1-8, 0-4 at home. Injuries for the visiting Chiefs are all listed as out. Dede Nicholas, linebacker; Albert Wilson, wide receiver; Alan Bailey, defensive end; Tamba Ali, linebacker; Dee Ford, linebacker. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. For the New York Giants, B.J. Goodson, linebacker, is out. Kelvin Shepard, linebacker, is doubtful. Damon Harrison, defensive tackle. Devin Kennard, linebacker. Sterling Shepard, wide receiver. I'm looking at these injuries. Those are some serious players. Albert Wilson, a nice complimentary wide receiver to go along with Tyreek Hill. Allen Bailey, Tamba Ali, D Ford, all pass rushers on the defensive line. Allen Bailey in the 3-4 scheme also does a lot of things against the run. I don't think Kansas City is taking the Giants very seriously. Now you'd look at a 1-8 team and say, why would they take them serious? Certainly, though, they're a professional team and you're traveling on the road from the Midwest to the East. It is a 1 o'clock start time. It's not the 3-hour difference, but it's a serious situation, so I don't really like that the Chiefs are doing that in this one. The Giants have shown us basically nothing to suggest that they would be able to get the victory. They've been all over the place. They have a lot of drama going on with their team, so it's going to be interesting. I would expect a much closer game because of the way it looks like Kansas City's approaching this, putting all those guys out against a professional team that still has a lot of talent. Alex Smith only has that 1 interception, of course. Eli Manning, his numbers really aren't bad. 14 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, just shy of 2,100 yards. Not too bad in the incompletions. The running game is coming along with Arlen Darkwa. Kareem Hunt is having a spectacular season for the Kansas City Chiefs. He will be in Offensive Rookie of the Year consideration. It's gonna be tricky because of the way it's pretty apparent the Chiefs are treating this game. I still can't pick the Giants with any good faith, though, and I'm liking 27-20. I think the Giants will show a much more game effort in this one because of all the drama. They had the team meeting over the week, but in the end, the Chiefs are just too strong, and they've been struggling a bit of late. They're going to look to get well against the New York Giants. The Arizona Cardinals, 4-5, 2-3 on the road, travel to Houston to play the Texans. We're 3-6, 2-3 at home. Injuries for the visiting Cardinals: Drew Stanton, quarterback. John Brown, wide receiver. John Wenzel, offensive tackle. A.Q. Shipley, center, are questionable. Corey Peters, the defensive tackle, is out. When we look at Drew Stanton, there's a lot of talk that he might not be able to go. Of course, Carson Palmer is already out. If they have to, they will turn to their third quarterback, who is Blaine Gabbert, so that's a serious situation there. For the Houston Texans, Dylan Cole, linebacker. Will Fuller, the fifth wide receiver, are out. Out for Blue, running back, questionable. Chris Thompson, wide receiver, questionable. Joel Heath, defensive end, questionable. Of course, you have guys like Deshaun Watson, J.J. Watt, and Whitney Merciless are all on injured reserve. They are, of course, not playing in this game. It's going to be very interesting to see if Drew Stanton can't go. He's a quality backup. If you're turning to your third-string quarterback, he's not getting really any reps. The backup quarterback, doesn't get many reps. The third-string guy is really limited, so it's going to be a very basic package against a Houston Texans defense that is injured but still has quality players. Adrian Peterson would have to be on his A game. Arizona is unlikely to make the playoffs. They're really searching for a wild card. They've been up and down. They've been hovering around 500 basically all season. Have not been able to go on any runs. Tricky game in this one. You have two serious quarterback situations where it might be Blaine Gabbert, and of course you have Tom Savage going for the Houston Texans. I'm going to take the Texans at home. Of course, it's a very difficult game to pick when you have the quarterback situation of that, but I like the Houston defense a little more than I like the Cardinals defense, and Tom Savage has played at times, and Blaine Gabbert has not done much in his entire career. That's why I'm taking the Houston Texans in a low-scoring game, 17-13 over the Arizona Cardinals. All right, we will be back in just a little bit to finish up the game picks for now week 11 of the NFL season. Be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you.